This week on the podcast for new all-age comic books for the week of October 24th, 2018, Blastosaurus, Star Wars reads, 2 what ifs. What if? Captain Marvel, Phoebe and the Unicorn in a new story, Foxtrot, and much more.
Hey, and welcome to Daddy Mojo. It's the podcast where we'll talk about parenting, all-age comic books, toys, and more. Now, here's your host, Trey Burley.
Hey, this is Trey with Daddy Mojo. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, checking out the podcast. It's a fun week. If you checked out last week, it was a crazy busy week. It was Comicsaurus Rex, which is kind of a lead into what our first comic is going to be, but this week is busy. Not as busy as last week, but it's still great, and it skews young, and it skews old, literally. I think the oldest comic we have is one that barely makes it, because it's almost kind of an adult comic, but you'll see what that is if you hang out till the end. First off, let's kick things off with this comic. I love this comic book. This is the first issue of it, so wow, where's the first one? It's Blastosaurus, and this comic book is fabulous. It's a miniseries from Golden Apple Books. If you're a Kiwi from New Zealand, you say, I know Blastosaurus. It's about 6 years old. And you're right. It's been very popular in New Zealand for a long time, and it's suddenly here in the States for a great miniseries run from Richard Fairgray. And this is, you think to yourself, what is a great all-age comic book? What should it have? How should it look? And boom, this is the template for it right here. It's got some great vivid art. This is the first issue that came out 2 months ago. Issue number 3, I believe, of a 5 or 6 issue miniseries. It's out this week for $3.99. You can't get, I'm not going to say you can't, because there's another one that gives it a run for its money. For $3.99, it is as good as it gets for an all-age comic book. It's great. The art is great. It's about 2 kids that find a crime-fighting dinosaur. It's awesome. Think of it. Think of it as a savage dragon for you old school moms and dads. Think of it as savage dragon, except wholly age-appropriate and all-age comic book friendly. This is great stuff. When you go to your local comic book store, it's going to be in the indie press section. So it may not be with the Marvels and the DCs. It'll be with the independent press, and there may not be many of them. There may be maybe 5 or 6 copies of it. So get Blastosaurus, because it's a hoot, and it is certainly one of our favorite comics of the week. Love that. This series is great too. We've mentioned it a couple times. They only cost $1. So they're great because of that, and it's great because it kind of goes back in the time machine to show kids what cool comic books were back in the day. This time we're going back to the late 80s, 2 what ifs from Marvel Comics. It's True Believers. What if the Silver Surfer possessed the Gauntlet? And now everybody knows what the Gauntlet is now because of Thanos. Thanos snapped, but back in 1989, that wasn't really known. That was kind of the inside skinny. That was geek. That was deep geek culture back in 1989. But What If is bringing this one back, and a great little $1 comic book. Also from 1989 is this one, What If Kraven the Hunter had killed Spider-Man? Kraven the Hunter was always one of our favorite Spider-Man bad guys, just because he reminded us of some camp villain that looked like he should belong on Gilligan's Island. Like he's trying to hunt Gilligan and Ginger with a rifle till the skipper accidentally hits him with something. But it's only $1, and it's a hoot. It says rated T for teens, but you know what? I would let our 9-year-old look at this any day of the week and be A-okay with it. And we're not the most lenient of parents when it comes to content. As you will find out in about 6 minutes when we can't let them see this book. Much to their chagrin. Also from Marvel Comics this week is this one, and this is a brand new comic book. This is one of their one-shots that comes out for Halloween. This is the Captain Marvel Halloween Spooktacular, and if you've been paying attention to what Marvel Comics is doing with some of their all-age comic books, they've got a great little stamp, a great little thing going on with some of their female-centric superheroes. I say females because they've had a good little Alpha Rising run. If you're watching that the series of comics from Marvel Comics, good stuff. This is in that line, but this is Captain Marvel hooking up with basically the A-team from the Avengers. I see Hulk, I see Spidey, I see Thor, who looks like the Ultimate Warrior from back in the W days. So check this out. This is great fun, and it is for all ages. It's Captain Marvel Halloween Spooktacular from Marvel Comics. Only $3.99 that is. Since Simpsons Comics and SpongeBob Comics have taken a break, and that's the other bit of big news. Last week we mentioned that Simpsons Comics had their last issue come out, which we got, and it's fabulous. Go check your store, see if they have any left, because it's awesome. But that was the last month-to-month issue of Simpsons Comics. And also SpongeBob Comics a couple weeks before that. Bummer, sad news. However, they put out a little blurb last week in the comic book that I picked up that said, don't worry, we're going to have new stories coming out from Simpsons Comics on probably a quarterly basis, doing something similar that Plants vs. Zombies did a couple of years ago. So if you're a Simpsons fan and you're kind of bummed out, got your Ned Flanders hat on, and you're in your solace of Quickie Martdom, don't fret, because it will be back. That's all I had. However, in lieu of their temporary hiatus, this is now probably the king behemoth of the monthly all-age comic books, Scooby-Doo. This comic book is fabulous from DC Comics. This is Scooby-Doo Team Up. So this is where members and superheroes and villains of the DCU will join up with classic Scooby in Scooby-Doo Team Up. This is issue 43. It's only $2.99, and it is a hoot. In this one, who do they come? The Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol meets Scooby-Doo and his gang. Tell me what's not to love about that. Who is Doom Patrol? I barely know, because I wasn't really a DC kid growing up. All I know is I recognize them. One of the cats looks like He-Man, except a lot smaller, and there's this 60s looking girl in a dress. But it's Scooby-Doo, and it's retro fun, and this is literally one of the best comic books for all age audiences. You can pick up any issue, and it's solid. Plus parents, it's only $2.99. Kids, you can buy this with a small, meager percentage of your allowance, presuming your allowance is around $5 a week and you don't waste it on candy. Scooby-Doo Team Up, issue 43, out this week. Please go check it out. And did you know that October is Star Wars Reads Month? So if you do a little hashtag research, which I highly recommend, hashtag Star Wars Reads or hashtag NCBD for New Comic Book Day, you can see what some of the kids are reading. Some of the older kids don't read those books. But if you punch in Star Wars Reads, you'll see what some of the cool Star Wars books are that may be flying under your radar if you really like to read about Star Wars. And this is free. Boom! Have I got your attention now? Star Wars Reads, it's a free preview. It's in the vein of the Halloween mini comics for Halloween Comic Fest that we showed you last week. They're free little snippets, free chapters from some of the comic books that are in the Star Wars universe. This is from Disney Press and Lucasfilm and Marvel Comics. And I'm not sure where the Disney comics are located now, because I see some on IDW. Marvel Comics has their hand in this one, so just go to the comic book store and say, Star Wars Reads, where is the free bundle? And you can get a free look inside the Star Wars universe for free. Check it out. Again, it says here T+, T meaning teen. However, I let our 9-year-old read the Star Wars comic books, and I'm not a delinquent parent. So gauge it for yourself. It's a fun comic book, and there's nothing too adult about it, despite the teen rating that Marvel puts on it. Common sense rating, parents. Check out the comic book yourself if you are questionable or you're not sure. Star Wars Reads. Check out that hashtag. This one. This is great. I compared this to Calvin and Hobbes, and somebody was giving me flack about it, but it really is great. Phoebe and Her Unicorn. For me, the subtitle to this is Phoebe and Her Unicorn. It's not just for girls, because it's not just for girls. Actually, the official subtitle for this is Phoebe and Her Unicorn, Unicorn Theater by Dana Simpson. What makes this unique is this is an original graphic novel from a character that is usually in the webcomic genre or the comic strip genre. So when you think of Phoebe and Her Unicorn, A, you think excellence and the ability to cross over to boys and girls equally. I think that. But this is an original graphic novel, so it's one coherent story that kind of goes all the way front to center, front to end. Unless you stop at the center, then you'll never figure out what happens to Unicorn, and it's tragic. I'm kidding, it's not. It's actually a great graphic novel. It's actually great. This is the second original graphic novel that Dana Simpson has done, starring Phoebe and Her Unicorn, and it's great stuff. Our 9-year-old may not read this just because I sometimes kid him about unicorns. However, if I leave this on the bed, he will come check it out because he likes to read graphic novels, and that's the key behind this. He likes to read. Let me go off on a small tangent here. One of a parent told me recently that they don't let their sons or their kids or their daughters, the sex of the child is not germane to the conversation. They don't let their kid read Dogman. And we let both of our boys read Dogman. And let's be clear, Dogman is not Shakespeare. There's very there's very little redeeming value in Dogman, but there's lots of redeeming value in Dogman. It's funny, kids want to read it, and kids want to read it. And getting kids to read is the hard part. We let our kids read Dogman because A, they want to read it, in case you missed points 2 and 3. And if you don't let kids what they want to read, they're not going to read when they have to read things they don't want to read. If that makes any sense. Case in point, when I was in high school, my English Lit class, man, I hated reading the boring stuff. I still don't like reading boring stuff. It's because when I was a kid, that's the only thing my parents let me read. My parents only let me read boring stuff. Stuff I never wanted to read. I still don't want to read. And I read it and I barely passed English Lit to graduate from high school because it was some boring thing from hundreds of years ago. Really? My point to this is this, parents. If your kids want to read Dogman, it's not that bad. Likewise, if your kids want to read this, go on, let them. Phoebe and Her Unicorn, Unicorn Theater. Parents, let your kids read. Graphic novels and comic books are a great entryway to doing that. Really is. It's like it's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. Just let them read. Let them read what they want to read. Hey, look, somebody removed my soapbox. There we are. This comic book strip is also awesome. It's a Foxtrot collection by Bill Amend. And Foxtrot is really, it's one of the classic comic book strips. And I see it, I think, classic, because it ages so well. Any age can read it. We can give this comic strip to our 7-year-old, and he can laugh at it. I can give this to my wife. She can laugh at it. And if they dare to take it from my hand, then they will laugh at it if I dare let it leave my hand. It is a great collection. It's out this week, and it retails for $19. However, if you buy it through some of the links, you can find it online for around $13. And that's really a steal for this, because it has 144 color pages of Fox family hilarity. And if you're unfamiliar with this title, wow, I don't think you are, because I just presume everybody is familiar with Foxtrot. And even if you're not familiar with the name Foxtrot, when you look at the characters, you'll say, oh, those guys. Yeah, I get it now. Foxtrot, Mother is Coming. It's kind of a Game of Thrones homage, especially with the font on the title of the cover of the book. It's great, and it's out this week. It's fabulous. Now, this is the one. When we have friends of our 9-year-old over at the house, we don't have many video games, just because we don't. I'm not really a video game guy. I'm getting to be. I kind of have to be. If you're a parent to a 9 or a 10-year-old kid, especially boys, you kind of need to be at least conversational in video games. You don't need to be fluent. You just have to know what's what. And I know this is a what. It's Fortnite. Wow. The concept behind Fortnite I find is amazing. How they monetized it, how it was free and all this stuff, and you guys out there know much more about it than me. So let's get to the book. The book is an unofficial guide, the Fortnite Guide to Staying Alive. What's neat is that our 9-year-old so far has little desire to play the game, which is cool. I mean, he can play, he cannot play it. We may wait a little bit longer until he plays it to really get the full-on Mojo blessing, just because it's full-on kind of survival. But if survival's your scene, check this out. So if you're a middle school kid and you want to know some of the tricks, some of the trades in Fortnite, how to survive longer, this is great because it does show you some tricks. And if you buy it through the links, check out the savings. You can save 20%. It is $8 through those links. Do the math, it's about $10.50 retail. But if you're down with Fortnite and you want to know how to survive and what's what, and wow, how can I find that apple and why can't I take that apple with me and I want this gun, not that gun, this is your jam. It is. Hey, this is Trey with Daddy Mojo. Don't forget, tag things when you share them on social media. Hashtag NCBD, that's New Comic Book Day. And if you're reading an all-age comic book, you can also tag us, Daddy Mojo, hashtag Daddy Mojo, or at Daddy Mojo, and share with us what you're reading. Thanks a lot.
Tune in next time. For more information on any of the things we talked about today, just check out the website, daddymojo.net, or hit us up at Daddy Mojo on social media.